All right, we want to start with this. It's a testimonial from SereneCareOmaha.com. This goes something like this. Thank you for making a tough situation the best possible. Your staff was great and worked well with Dad.
That comment was from Patrick. It reflects the spirit of the company. The patients are family.
That's right. From Serene Care Hospice, Victoria Wagner and April Johnston. Good to see both of you this morning.
Good to see you, April. It's nice to see you.
You know, when somebody throws the word hospice around, it can be scary, but it might not be as bad as that, is what most people think. And would you tell us, how is hospice different from other medical care?
Certainly. Well, hospice has its roots in volunteers and folks coming and working. It came to the United States in about 1971, and what we do is we focus on managing symptoms of diseases and making people very comfortable. April can definitely talk a little bit more about the symptom management and how it differs.
You know, we come in and we become part of the family, of course. You know, we're not just, someone you call or, oh, I need to go to the doctor's office. We come in and we start looking at your meds, looking at your symptoms, and we just manage all of that, and we just climb the mountain until we get to a plateau.
As Mike alluded to, does electing hospice mean giving up hope for families?
Certainly not.
No. You know, hospice comes in when doctors start throwing out the words, you have a terminal illness. And then when you're going to the hospital for the third time and all they're doing is giving you IV fluids and then sending you home, you start thinking, do I want to keep doing this, or am I ready to, stay at home with my family and my friends and live my last final days to the fullest?
Yeah, when you talk about sending people to hospice, do you ever see patients' conditions improve as a result of going to hospice?
We do. With Medicare, the hospice benefit, there are guidelines that you have to meet to even be eligible for hospice. And if they don't show a decline, then they improve. And we've had people graduate.
And when she says graduate, she means that we see people who have then left hospice care and then have continued to live their lives for a year to 2 years afterwards. So,
is there a point, Vic, where, and I'm sure it's got to be different for every family, but where it's time to consider hospice?
Certainly. I think, as April had said, when the doctor talks about having that terminal illness, there's a time where modern medicine just isn't going to be able to take care of the disease. So we are very life-affirming in our practices, and because, as we all know, the two things we can never avoid are death and taxes. So what we do is help manage people's symptoms so that they live right up to the very last day. And we do that in a variety of ways. We have a wonderful care team, and then we have our volunteers who also come in and meet a lot of those emotional needs that sometimes folks, they don't realize they might have a need to talk to somebody who's not a family member or someone who's super close, and we call our volunteers to do that.
Yeah, and that's a really huge aspect. I think that people don't put a lot of stock into, is the emotional part of that when you're dealing with a lot of these issues. What other services are available when you consider hospice?
Certainly. We have an interdisciplinary team that consists of fabulous nurses like April here. We also have chaplain care, and we have a pastor on staff as well as a Catholic nun, and they offer spiritual advisement to the family. We have bereavement, social work, CNA bath aides, and then of course our volunteer corps that fulfill a variety of different needs. So
the website is SereneCareOmaha.com, and there's information about all of that online. If this is something that's striking a chord with you and you'd like to learn more, we'd send you to that site. In terms of payment, is it on the families, or are there other resources to cover it?
Actually, your insurance gets involved. Once you decide to go hospice, if you're on Medicare has a hospice benefit that will start taking over instead of your Part A's and all that. It flips over to the hospice benefit. Your private insurance also has hospice.
So it's not an additional expense if the financial stress is already one part of the picture for the family. This isn't adding to that.
Right. Correct.
And backing up to some of the emotional care that people can receive at a hospice, one thing I realized that you have was a pet and music therapy. How does that help patients?
That's correct. Well, our pet therapy, we have a variety of different animals. We have cats and dogs. Recently, we had a request for an alpaca. We haven't quite fulfilled
an
that
alpaca,
yet.
right.
But what we do with the pet therapy is we bring in pets, and sometimes people are able to connect better with an animal, or they miss having their pet in their home because the illness maybe has prevented their ability to be a great caretaker for their pet. So the volunteers bring the pets in, and then it's a one-on-one therapy time, and we find that people tend to light up and their days are brightened with puppies, kitties, and the whole bit. Now, when it comes to music therapy, we do have some patients who at a certain point their disease might have progressed and they're sleeping a good majority of the day. But when we play music for them, whether it be students who come in and perform with their voice or using instruments, you can just see a person relax and unfold, and it's just another way of reaching out to them. So we definitely focus on giving a little bit of extra care and TLC. So
We've mentioned volunteers a few times. Is there special training required for it, or do you need a degree or a background in order to qualify?
We look for people who are very compassionate and have a lot of patience and time. Our volunteers don't necessarily need degrees. We have quite a few collaborations with local high schools as well as the colleges on up to retired folks. So we work with people from all ages and all walks of life who come in and have a talent and time to share with our volunteers, or with our patients rather.
Online. SereneCareOmaha.com. We've seen on your website you talk about the Serene Care difference. You can go to the website and learn more about that as well. In general, what's the importance of end-of-life planning?
You know, like Vic said, there's two things you can't avoid in life, is taxes and death. And a lot of death is a hard subject. And, you know, if you go to end of life not planned, you're leaving a burden behind to your family. So having the medical power of attorney and insurance and things lined up and your last final wishes made known to your family will help.
It's comfort.
Comfort.
It
That's
is.
all part of it.
And compassion. That's the one word that stands out to me most here.
Yes.
April, Vic, thank you for
Thanks.
joining us.
Thanks for
Thank you
coming.
so much
We
for having
appreciate
us
your
today.
time.
As parents,